If you woke up tomorrow and everyone forgot what you do for a living, would they still have a reason to follow you? Most of us are terrified of that question because we've built our entire identities on the job title, the salary, the degrees, the house. We spend our lives perfecting the external shell, convinced that if we just make the what impressive enough, we'll finally feel successful. But there is a haunting truth that most people realize too late. You can spend 30 years doing the right things for the wrong reasons and still end up at a finish line that feels like a dead end. We are obsessed with the results, but we are starving for a reason. What if the secret to a life that actually feels like it matters isn't found in your achievements, but in the silent, invisible force that drives them? Imagine two people standing in front of a massive stone wall. One says they are laying bricks. The other says they are building a cathedral. On the surface, they are doing the exact same thing. They are sweating the same, lifting the same weight, and earning the same wage. But the bricklayer is tired, watching the clock and waiting for the weekend. The cathedral builder is inspired, focused, and part of something that will outlast their own life. The difference isn't the task, it's the intent. Most of us are just laying bricks, wondering why we feel so heavy. We've been taught to start with the what and the how, but the great leaders of the world, the ones who change history and build empires that last centuries, they start with why. Think about your own daily grind for a second. Are you laying bricks or are you building a cathedral? The world is obsessed with manipulation because it's easy. It's the sugar rush of business and leadership. If you want someone to buy something, you drop the price. If you want an employee to work harder, you offer a bonus or threaten a demotion. These are the carrots and sticks of modern life. They work, but they are incredibly expensive. They require constant maintenance. Once the sale ends, the customer leaves. Once the bonus is spent, the motivation dies. Manipulation creates transactions, but it will never, ever create loyalty. Loyalty is when someone chooses you even when you're more expensive, even when you're less convenient, and even when you've made a mistake. When was the last time you stayed loyal to someone or something even when it cost you? Why did you do it? There is a profound disconnect in how we communicate. We speak in the language of features and benefits. We talk about the 10-step plan, the 20% more efficiency, the high-speed processing. But here's the problem. The human brain isn't wired to care about those things. We think we are rational creatures who make emotional decisions, but it's actually the other way around. We are emotional creatures who use logic to justify what our gut already told us to do. When you start with the what, you are speaking to the neocortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thought and language. It's the part that understands the facts, but it's not the part that drives behavior. To drive behavior, you have to talk to the limbic system. This is the seat of trust, loyalty, and all human feeling. It's also the part of the brain that has no capacity for language. This is why we say things just feel right even when we can't explain why. If you had to explain your deepest friendship using only logic and facts, could you do it? Or would you find that the most important parts of the bond are the ones you can't put into words? The golden circle is a simple idea that changes everything. At the center is why, your purpose, your cause, your belief. The next layer is how, the specific actions you take to realize that belief. The outer layer is what, the results of those actions. Most people operate from the outside in. They know what they do, and they might know how they do it, but they are fuzzy on why. But the inspired leaders, the ones who move us, they move from the inside out. They start with the belief, and then everything they do and say becomes a physical proof of that belief. When you look at your own life, do you start your day thinking about the tasks you have to finish, or the reason you're doing them in the first place? Think about the difference between a product and a symbol. A product is something you use, a symbol is something you are. When people wait in line for hours for a specific piece of technology, they aren't waiting for a faster processor. They are waiting for a way to tell the world who they are. The product is just the evidence. If the company didn't have a clear why, no one would wait. They would just go buy the cheaper version down the street. We don't buy things for what they do, we buy them for what they say about us. If your life were a brand, what would people think they were becoming by being associated with you? True leadership isn't about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge. There's a common misconception that being a leader means having all the answers and being the smartest person in the room. But that's just ego. Real leadership is the ability to create an environment where trust can flourish. When people feel safe, they naturally cooperate and innovate. When they feel threatened, they spend all their time and energy on self-protection. Think about the most toxic environment you've ever been in. Did you feel like you could be your best self there? Now think about a place where you felt truly supported. What was the why of the person running that space? Trust is not a checklist. You can't just follow a set of instructions to earn it. Trust is a feeling that emerges when we perceive that another person or organization is driven by things other than their own self-interest. It's why we trust a friend who tells us a hard truth more than a stranger who gives us a compliment. We are looking for alignment. We are looking for people who believe what we believe. In your current circle, do you feel like you have to prove yourself constantly, or do you feel like you are already accepted for who you are? The biggest trap for any successful person is the split. In the early days, the why is clear because it's usually born out of a specific passion or frustration. But as you get bigger, as you gain more money, more fame, more responsibility, the why starts to get buried. You start measuring success by the metrics instead of the mission. You look at the bank account instead of the impact. This is the moment when the how and the what take over and the why goes silent. This is why many people who seem to have it all feel like they've lost their way. They've achieved the what, but they've forgotten the why. If you lost all your material possessions today, would your purpose still be intact? We often talk about finding our why as if it's hiding under a rock somewhere. But your why isn't something you invent. It's something you discover. It's the common thread that has been running through your life since you were a child. It's the reason you felt certain ways about certain events. It's the reason you were drawn to specific hobbies or people. It is your origin story. To find it, you have to look backward. You have to find the moments when you felt most you. When was the last time you felt so aligned with what you were doing that time seemed to disappear? What was the underlying cause of that feeling? There is a massive difference between being a leader and being the boss. A boss has authority, a leader has followers. You can't tell people to be inspired. You can't demand loyalty. You can only give people something to believe in, and if they believe it too, they will follow you to the ends of the earth. But you have to be the first one to step into the fire. You have to be the living embodiment of the why. If there is a gap between what you say and what you do, people will see it instantly. Authenticity is the only currency that matters in the long run. Do you think the people in your life see you as someone who lives by their word? Consider the concept of the law of diffusion of innovation. In any group there are innovators, early adopters, the early majority, the late majority, and the laggards. Most people try to appeal to the majority right away. They try to convince everyone to like them. But the majority won't try something until someone else has tried it first. They need proof. The innovators and early adopters, however, don't need proof. They need a why. They are willing to take risks and pay more because it makes them feel like part of something bigger. If you want to change the world or even just your own life, stop trying to convince the skeptics. Focus on the people who believe what you believe. Who are the people in your life who have always had your back, even when your ideas sounded crazy? Energy is easy to fake. You can drink a gallon of coffee, yell at a crowd, and use flashy graphics to get people excited. But energy eventually runs out. Charisma, on the other hand, is the result of a deep, unshakable clarity of purpose. It's not about personality, it's about certainty. When someone is absolutely clear about why they are here, they don't have to yell. They don't have to use gimmicks. Their presence alone is enough to draw people in. Charisma inspires energy, just motivates. Are you trying to loud talk your way into influence, or are you sitting quietly in your conviction? The why provides the vision, but the how provides the structure. You can have the most beautiful why in the world, but if you don't have the discipline to build the how, you're just a dreamer. You need how types, the people who know how to build the systems, and the processes to support the why types. Every great visionary in history had someone behind the scenes making sure the trains ran on time. The problem is when we try to be both, or when we value one over the other. Do you consider yourself more of a visionary who sees the big picture, or a builder who focuses on the details? In a world full of noise, clarity is a superpower. When you know your why, every decision becomes easier. You don't have to agonize over every choice because you have a filter. If an opportunity doesn't fit your why, you say no. It doesn't matter how much money is involved or how prestigious it looks. If it doesn't align, it's a distraction. But without that filter, you are just reacting to the world. You are a leaf in the wind, being blown around by whatever seems popular or profitable at the moment. Have you ever said yes to something for the money or the status only to regret it later? What was missing in that decision? We are often told to be the best, but being the best is a comparison. It means you are looking at everyone else and trying to beat them. It's an external focus. But when you are driven by a why, you aren't trying to be the best, you are trying to be better than you were yesterday. You aren't competing with others, you are competing with yourself. This shift in perspective removes the stress of comparison and replaces it with the joy of growth. When you stop looking at the competition and start looking at your purpose, you realize that there is room for everyone. Who are you really trying to impress, the world or the person you see in the mirror? The strength of a community isn't determined by its size, but by the strength of its common belief. We feel a bond with people who share our why, even if we've never met them. It's why we feel a sense of home when we travel to a foreign country and see someone wearing our favorite team's jersey or a symbol of our culture. It's a shorthand for trust. It says, I know what you believe, and therefore I know I can trust you. Are you actively building a community around your values, or are you just floating through a sea of acquaintances? Think about the long-term impact of your choices. Most people live in the what of the moment, the immediate gratification, the quick win. But the why lives in the infinite. It's the legacy you leave behind. It's the way people feel when they think about you after you're gone. If you died today, what would be the why that people remembered? Would they talk about your house and your car, or would they talk about the way you stood for something? If that thought makes you uncomfortable, what can you change today to align your actions with the legacy you want to leave? Success is a double-edged sword. It brings resources, but it also brings noise. It brings fame, but it also brings pressure to conform. The hardest part of success isn't getting there, it's staying true to the reason you started while you are there. It's very easy to start out as a rebel and end up as the establishment. It's easy to start out with a mission and end up with a board of directors who only care about the quarterly report. How do you protect your why from the very success it creates? How do you stay humble when the world is telling you how great you are? The most powerful organizations in the world don't have employees, they have believers. They don't have customers, they have fans. This isn't just for big corporations, it applies to your family, your local club, and your personal brand. If you want people to give you their best, you have to give them a reason to care. You have to show them that their work matters. You have to connect their what to your why. When was the last time you told someone how much their contribution meant to the bigger picture? We are entering an era where the what is becoming commoditized. Artificial intelligence and global competition mean that almost anyone can do what you do. The only thing that can't be automated, copied, or commoditized is your why. Your unique perspective, your deep-seated beliefs, and your personal cause are your only true competitive advantages. In a world of infinite whats, the why is the only thing that stands out. What is the one thing about your perspective that no one else can replicate? Finding your why is the ultimate act of courage. It requires you to be honest with yourself, to look at your flaws, and to admit what you actually care about, not what you think you should care about. It requires you to stop trying to please everyone and start living for the one thing that gives your life meaning. It is a lonely path at first because not everyone will understand. But as you walk it, you will find others who are walking the same way. And together, you will build something that none of you could have built alone. Are you ready to stop hiding behind your results and start showing the world your reason? Imagine yourself at 80 years old, looking back on your life. You aren't going to remember the spreadsheets or the meetings. You're going to remember the moments when you stood up for something you believed in. You're going to remember the people you helped and the lives you touched. You're going to remember the times you were brave enough to be yourself. All of those moments are connected by your why. It is the heartbeat of your existence. Don't let it be silenced by the noise of the world. Don't let the what drown out the why. The journey doesn't end when you find your why. That's actually when the real work begins. Now you have to live it. You have to make sure your hows and your whats are in perfect alignment. You have to be willing to walk away from things that don't fit. You have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be willing to fail in the pursuit of something that matters. Because a failure in pursuit of a why is infinitely more valuable than a success in pursuit of nothing. What is one small thing you can do today that is a direct reflection of your core belief? Look at the people you admire most. Not the ones who are just rich or famous, but the ones who seem to have a light inside them. If you look closely, you'll see that they all have a clear sense of purpose. They aren't just working, they are on a mission. That light is the why shining through. You have that light too. You just have to clear away the clutter of the what to let it shine. It's not about becoming someone else, it's about finally becoming the person you were always meant to be. If you could tell the world one truth that you believe with every fiber of your being, what would it be? Every day is a series of choices. You can choose to lead with logic, or you can choose to lead with belief. You can choose to manipulate, or you can choose to inspire. You can choose to focus on the result, or you can choose to focus on the reason. One path leads to a temporary win, the other leads to a lasting impact. The choice is yours. But remember, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you don't know why you're doing it, they won't either. Think about the legacy of those who came before us. The great innovators and social leaders didn't have more resources or better technology than their peers. In many cases, they had much less. What they had was a clarity of why that was so powerful it became contagious. They didn't have to hire people to follow them, people followed them because they wanted to be a part of the story. You are the author of your own story. What is the theme that ties all your chapters together? The most successful people in the world are the ones who are the most consistent. But consistency is impossible if you're faking it. You can only be consistent if you are being yourself. When your why is clear, consistency is natural. You don't have to remind yourself how to act, because you are just acting on your beliefs. This creates a sense of reliability that people crave. In an unpredictable world, being a person of consistent purpose is the most attractive quality you can have. Do you think people know exactly what you stand for, even when you aren't saying a word? Consider the celery test. Imagine you go to a grocery store and you're told you need to be healthy. You see cookies, milk, celery, and soda. If you don't know your why, you might buy a little of everything because you aren't sure what healthy means for you. But if your why is to be a person who only puts natural, plant-based things in their body, you walk straight to the celery. You don't even look at the other items. You save time, you save money, and you achieve your goal. This is what a why does for your life. It filters out the cookies and the soda so you can focus on the celery. What are the cookies and soda in your life right now, the things that look good but don't actually serve your purpose? We are often afraid that if we define ourselves too narrowly, we will miss out on opportunities. But the opposite is true. When you define yourself by your why, you open up the right opportunities. You attract the right people and the right projects. You stop wasting time on things that drain you. Narrowing your focus is actually the way you expand your impact. If you could only do one thing for the rest of your life, but you knew it would perfectly reflect your why, would you be okay with letting everything else go? The transition from a what life to a why life is not an overnight event. It's a series of small, intentional shifts. It's asking, why am I doing this, before you send that email or take that meeting. It's checking in with your gut when something feels off, even if it looks good on paper. It's having the integrity to say no to a what that violates your why. It's a muscle that you have to build. How can you practice your why in a small way in the next hour? The feeling of fulfillment is the reward for living in alignment. Happiness is temporary, it's a reaction to an external event. But fulfillment is permanent, it's a state of being. You can be tired, stressed, and facing challenges, but still feel fulfilled because you know why you are doing it. That is the ultimate goal. Not to have a life without problems, but to have a life with a purpose that makes the problems worth solving. What is a problem you are currently facing that would feel much lighter if you connected it back to your why? Everything we've discussed comes down to one fundamental truth. We are social animals who are designed to seek out connection and meaning. We want to belong. We want to matter. We want to be part of something that is larger than ourselves. When you start with why, you are fulfilling that deep human need. You are providing the bridge between the individual and the collective. You are giving people a reason to care. And in doing so, you are giving yourself a reason to truly live. The world doesn't need more people who are the best. It needs more people who are the why. It needs more cathedrals and fewer bricklayers. It needs more leaders who inspire and fewer bosses who manipulate. It needs you to be the most authentic, purpose-driven version of yourself. So stop looking at the scoreboard. Stop worrying about the why. Go back to the center of the circle. Find the belief that started it all. And then, with everything you have, go out and prove it. If there is one thing you want to be remembered for standing for, what is it? Write it down, say it out loud, and then let it lead you. What is your why? Tell me in the comments what is the one belief that drives everything you do.